That was the hardest. And he passed that and he said, okay, now we'll make you an imam. But when you look at the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, obviously. So here the abd, the ibad, there are levels of ibad. They are among the prophets as well, among the human beings as well, right? Obviously, human beings and prophets, and the imams, and these are we all are considered as ibad. We all are considered as servants of God. Now, the levels based on their soul, and also based on the implication of the dunya, the effect of the dunya which they have upon them. And the more they avoid this dunya, that purification starts taking place. Obviously, halal and haram and the strict diet and food, it affects the soul. Obviously, within any tradition you will find that. Within Hinduism you have that. They prescribe that become a vegan, or prescribe that have food only which the birds eat. The bird food. So that when you eat that food, that will affect your body, your soul, you will be able to fly. Your soul will be able to fly. Right? So the same way applies in terms of within the Islamic traditions as well. Right? The dunya and its effect and the food, all that affects that soul. And when it affects that, it if one practices these, spiritual practices, whether that be zikr, askar, prayers, all of these things, then slowly the heart becomes the place where those manifestations, where that nuraniyat, where those names starts to reflect, and he starts to really see that. And obviously, as they say, the beginning of it is in the dreams. That's the beginning of it. When the companion of the Prophet would go to the Prophet, in the morning, Prophet would ask them, what have you learned last night? People sleep in order to learn, because when they go to sleep, their third eye opens, and they are taught there. So dream is a form of learning. Wahi was in a form of learning. Hazrat Ibrahim saw Ismail a dream, right? That is sacrificing him. So dream is a form of learning. That's barzakh. So when it affects us, the food and our ibadat, our fasting, our praying, you automatically feel that. There's clarity. Tell me, when you go for ziyarats, the first few days that you are there, your dreams are so strong when you are there. And also sometimes when you return back from ziyarat trip, when you come back here, you sometimes feel like, oh, I'm still there. Because your soul is still lingering to the shrine of Allah Abdullah Hussain. There's clarity in your dreams. When you start doing ibadah, there's clarity there. Why do we all have these du'as where, if you recite this du'a, you'll see the Prophet, you'll recite this du'a, you'll see Amirul Mu'mineen in your dream. There's some sort of form of education, some sort of reality, which is barzakh, which affects, that helps the ubudiyah and servitude of that person. Now here, that's what, prescription comes about. That's what teaching, training, a person, an individual who has gone that path, he's able to really provide that. That's the first type where that training takes place through a teacher, through a peer, the murid, the sheikh, all of these things. Maulana Rumi says, "Di sheikh ba charaq amin gash dorish as di vodat malulam insan marzus." Last night, the sheikh with a lamp was looking all over the city, and he was saying that as di vodat malula, I'm sick and tired of devil and evil. Insan marzus. I would like to see a human being. It's all animals all around me because of their behavior, right? Because of their nafs. Because nafs have that ability to, we shape our nafs. Sometimes make it wolf, sometimes, pig or whatever, a human. So he said, as divadat malula, I'm sick and tired of devil and evil. Insana marzus. Goft yaftina shava. Then a voice echoed, you will never find. Yaftina shava. He said, on che ki yaftina shawad, onam arzus. That you cannot find, that is my arzu. That is I would like to find. So always in the search of a teacher, of a human being where one could really take us. That's one form. The other form is also where one could have direct connection with Lord, and God kind of manifests that into the heart. So there are two ways, two methodologies we have seen. That first is where you have a teacher, you have training, you have, piri, muridi, or whatever you want to call. There's a proper set form, and even that person, that individual, who is the guide, must be well versed in the Quran, in the Sunnah, in the dhikr, and the knowledge of the nafs, what to give, what not to give, how much to give, what is the criteria of it. Sometimes we tend to do certain du'as which are too heavy for us, and it backfires, right? Hassan Zadeh Imam Ali says that you should know what is the depth of the water that you're swimming, right? So the zikr have that depth. Sometimes it's so heavy that it can take us down, right? Like for example, Dua Sabah, which is our Amirul Mu'minin. It's not for everyone to recite. It's a dua in which you say to God, God, I'm ready. Test me whatever you want and the way you want. Next day God tests you. He said, Ya Allah. Well, you said, Lord, you've been asking for it. Right? So obviously there's a chemistry there. When you recite those zikr and askar, there's a chemistry. It changes. It kind of creates waves. So we got to be careful. So that is one way. The other way is somebody is very sincere to God and sincerely practicing the halal and haram. And God will take care of him, will put that light in him. We have seen these two methodologies. As tonight being the night of Qadr as well, the first night of Qadr, and also a night of Shab-e Zarbat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Zikr Musibat, and just prior to that, the night of Qadr is fascinating. It's very unique. It's an opportunity. Alhamdulillah, we are all lucky that God have given this opportunity. Because one night of ibadah is better than khayrun min alf shahr. Is better than 80 years. Because 1,000 months is like 80 years. So it's better than 80 years. So just one night of ibadah. If I was in England or here as well, I would say only 4 hours of ibadah, because the night over there is only 4 hours. 4 hours is better than 80 years. What a bonus. What a reward out of mercy of God. And this beauty, this reward and this mercy is only and only because of the Prophet. Is only and only because of the Quran. If Prophet was not there, he wouldn't have brought the Quran. Prophet being a human being, his heart was so magnificent that he was able to connect to God, as we were talking about the ubudiyah there. So he was able to bring that word of God to us, by which we cling on to, by which we take it and put it on our head, for this feeble soul, for this insan to connect through this book, which is the word of God, and by the name of the Prophet, and by those names that connect us to God. That's the falsafa, that's the philosophy of putting the Quran and taking those names. And look how beautifully that God, out of His mercy, says, خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ in the Quran. That one night of ibadah is better than 1,000 months. And there's a lot of mystical reality to the night of Qadr, inshallah, as there are much more heavier nights of Qadr coming along. We'll discuss it in more detail, because according to the traditions, 3 nights have been emphasized, because they say, look at the last 10 odd nights in the last 10 days, then questioned the Imam. They said, look in the 19th night for the night of Qadr, 21st and 23rd. So tonight is one of the 19th, which we'll be having on. And we'll look at this night of Qadr in more detail later on, because night of Qadr is the beginning of everything. Is the beginning of everything is that night of Qadr. And it is tonight that Amirul Mu'mineen, faces Ibn Muljim. It is tonight that Amirul Mu'mineen was invited towards his Lord. As you all are aware that the situation was so grim, the situation was so worse after the Battle of Nahrawan. Hazrat Amirul Mu'mineen was still in Kufa and still preparing to meet Muawiyah and the forces at the border. During this period, you have a person, an individual known as Ibn Muljim Muradi, who was from the Khawarij. And as you know, that Khawarij were defeated by Amirul Mu'mineen. And he was one of them who fled during this war and meets at the Kaaba with his friends and vow that, pays allegiance to God that he will take out Amirul Mu'mineen, that he will murder Amirul Mu'mineen with two of his friends. One of them went to Syria to kill Muawiyah, and the other went to Egypt to kill Amr As. So Ibn Muljim comes to Kufa in Shaban. And as Amirul Mu'mineen knows everything, right? He knows everything. And he inquires Ibn Muljim, you look foreigner, you need any help or aid or assistance? And he asks his companion to really help. And then he stayed there to the extent where he was also deviated by the lady called Khutam, whose brother and father was killed by Amirul Mu'mineen in the Battle of Nahrawan. They were amongst the Khawarij. And she also conspired against Amirul Mu'mineen and asked Ibn Muljim that if you want to marry me, as he had proposed Khutam, as he had proposed her, that if you want to marry me, I want the blood of Amirul Mu'mineen as the man, as the marriage gift. I want the head of Amirul. Then he decided to do so. And as you know, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam, in the month of Ramadan, it was his habit to visit every one of his child in the evening to break iftar. And on the 19th night, he was with Kulthum. And the eve happens, the 19th eve, the mat was spread and iftar was brought. And Hazrat Ali alayhi salam looked at the iftar and he says, have you ever seen me having more than 2 types of food that you have brought 3 now? She brought milk, salt and dry bread. It was very unique that Hazrat Ali would put his dry bread in a jar and would seal it, because the children used to take the dry bread and put it in the water so that it becomes soft. But Hazrat Ali would say that no. He has his own method, his own methodology, which he clearly said that this is mine, this is my way, not for you. That's Ali. And he says, take the milk away. So he eats dry bread and salt. He breaks his iftar with that. And Kulthum says that my father on this night was a bit restless. He was going outside in the yard and looking at the stars and was saying that, this is the night. Because the Prophet had promised him that, O Ali, because he was very disappointed and sad that he did not attain martyrdom as his friends in one of the battles attained martyrdom. Because Ali clearly said that if it was not that I meet an enemy and face martyrdom, I would leave you guys and leave the dunya and live somewhere else. It's only that thing you have kept me here. In one of the hadiths, Hazrat Ali says that. So he says, this is the night that I have been promised. Because the Prophet had promised him. The Khutbah Shawaniya also indicates that, oh Ali, it will be the night in the month of Ramadan where your beard will turn red out of your blood, with your blood. So here, Hazrat Ali, yes, he is the apex of Kamal and perfection, where he sees nothing but God, no doubt, the ubudiyah is there. But as we said, dunya, the world has its own implication. There are certain veils in the dunya. There are certain hijab and veils that we are unable to really see God to that clarity. But in barzakh there is more clarity there. So that heart needs to be prepared. The soul needs to be prepared to see God. That's why that soul, when he's about to leave this dunya, we look at him, the man about to die, we say, oh my God, look at that. He's suffering so much. Yes, it is suffering. But at the same time, the soul is trying to open that eye towards the barzakh, where he's seeing the beauty and the jalal and jamal and the ahl bayt there. When the child is about to come out of the womb of the mother, the doctors and the nurse looking at it, look at it, so painful, so difficult for that child. But the child is entering into a new world of different colors and beauty, isn't it? The same with the soul. When it's leaving this dunya, it's very hard. It's a partnership of a lifetime of the soul and the body and spirit. Now you're splitting this body and spirit, you're taking away from it. It's very painful and difficult, but at the same time it is so sweet. There is no pain. That's why Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, for a moment it is like smelling of a flower, and he enters there. But for a kafir, it is like you throw a cotton cloth on thorns and you try to rip it. How painful and difficult it is like that. But for a moment, it's like smelling of a flower. So the dunya has its own implication. There are certain hijabat out of mercy of God that we do not see. It is tanazzalul malaikatu war-ruh tonight. If we just see one angel, we'll be like, our soul will depart. Looking at an angel is not a joke. Huh? That's why that Munkir and Nakir, Bashir and Nadir coming to the grave, the riwayat which talks about how they're going to come, the sound and that, and how scary the soul will be. But the aid of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, he promised, I will be there at your head to help you and assist you. That's Mawla Ali. That's why he says, Ya Ali Madad, isn't it? Right? So here, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that, oh Ali, tighten your belt and back and get ready for Maut, because he's entering into a different life. Tonight is the night, and finally he goes towards the masjid and he gives azan in the minarets, and this was the last azan the world ever heard from Ali. And he comes down, and Ibn Muljim, Sheikh Abbas mentions this riwayat. Ibn Muljim was sleeping on the belly, hiding the sword under the belly, which was dipped in the poison, and he says that to Imam Hassan later on, when the tabib, when the doctor came, he said, the poison that I bought is so expensive that you put a drop in the ocean, the creatures will die in that. And then he starts praying. He wakes up Ibn Muljim, his own killer, advises him, last minute advises him as well, and starts praying. And the first blow, as they say, which was from one of the, conspirator of him, hits the mihrab. But the second blow hits his head. And he goes in sajda, and when he raises his head, it hits the head of Amir al-Mu'mineen and it cracks open. And blood starts to flow from his forehead into his beard. And here, Jibreel yells out loudly that today the foundations of hidayat of guidance have been shaken. It is that day. And Ali falls. And as soon as the report reaches to Zainab and Kulsum, they started lamenting and wants to come out. And Ali says, it is not Karbala yet. And Ali in pain. going unconscious and coming back to conscious. Hassan and Hussein in tears. On this blessed night of Qadr, that's how Amir al-Mu'mineen was injured. And finally when Amir al-Mu'mineen was brought to Imam Ali looks at in his eyes and he says, was I not a nice Imam to you that you behaved me in this fashion? And he advises Imam Hassan, be wary of him. Give him exactly the same food which you're eating. Give him the same drink which you're drinking. Look how intimidated he is. Do not intimidate him. And then if I'm alive after this injury, I know what I have to do, and I'm the one who forgives. Oh Hassan, if I don't live, give him exactly one blow, if you would like. And if you free him, it's better. Allah la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyuhum munqalibin yanqalibun. Rahmallahu man qara'a al-Fatiha li arwah al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat, especially the ma'mumin of the brothers and sisters who are present here and also of the volunteers. With a loud salawat ala Muhammad.
So we have a few minutes for question and answer. If you'd like to kind of start.
Assalamu alaikum. Would you say that Prophet Muhammad had the highest level of ubudiyah?
No doubt about it, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Prophet was the ultimate, because Prophet was the Imam of the Imams. Where Amir al-Mu'mineen, he himself have said, I'm the slave of Muhammad. So the Prophet was the highest in terms of...
I have another question. If Jannat is not created yet, how can we envision what's going to be in the Jannat?
It's been explained in the Quran, for example, because Jannat is a reality that is beyond this materiality.
Yes.
It's beyond this matter. Because in Jannat, you'll be flying, right? So your body needs to be capable of flying. So it's not capable enough now that it could fly. So it's going towards that journey. It's like that larva, the locust and the larva and the butterfly. So butterfly is a state of Jannah. So we are still progressing. We are going towards that. Barzakh, Qiyamah and all that. It will happen.
So it will be as mentioned in the Quran.
It will be, yes, as rivers and and whatever you desire will come to you.
I need clear in my own mind the concept of intercession. Going to Allah through Imams. Should we not go straight to Allah?
Yes, very good question. Imams are just like the prophets. The prophets and the Imams, they are the one who would describe us, who would explain us, who would teach us how to approach God. Right? We always, connect to God directly. But Imams, we are saying they are intercession in the sense that they are teaching us. They are becoming that medium, that vehicle. Like for example, the dua munajat of Shabaniya. What does it begin? How does it begin? It starts. Wasma du'ai idha da'utuk. I call unto you, O Lord, so listen to me. Wasma nidai idha nadaituk. It's direct. We are directly connecting to God. But what is Sama? God is Sami. What does that really mean? Right? And when I'm saying Wasma Dua Ida Da'utu, I'm really asking one of the name of Sami of Allah to manifest towards me. Because He has different names, but now I'm particularly engaging or gauging on that name of Sami. So that Sami opens towards me. Now who taught us this? It's Subhanallah amma yusifu, illa ibadallahi mukhlisin. God cannot be depicted, cannot be described, except that those who are the mukhlasin. So intercession is by these mukhlasin, by these purified ones. They are able to really teach us No, we are interceding them, in that sense of the word. Yeah. Now, if we are imagining that the intercession be that, for example, I have done nothing. Now, just because I know the names, then I will be given no, not in that sense at all. No, because Imam Baqir clearly mentions that there is no favoritism here between us and God. We have reached to the level of qurb by ita'at, and we want our followers to reach the qurb by ita'at. And then if they fall short, we are there. Because the levels of Jannah is eternal. So no matter how much we do, we'll fall short. So you have to have that special mercy of God that we need to engage through these divine ones, who are representing actually the mercy of God Himself.
So just to clarify the same question, your answer, you are not praying to Allah, you're not praying to the Imams, you are praying directly to Allah. The Imams being wasila in a sense that they have showed us through their actions how we can emulate and be close to Allah and be able to pray to Him directly.
Right.
Is that correct?
Okay, now we'll take a step further now as the question have moved here, and also I wanted to discuss this as well. Imam Hussain says that Ma ma'rifatullah. What is the ma'rifat of God? Before leaving to Makkah, ma'rifatullah. Ma khalq Allah. Khalq Allah liya'rifuhu. Why God created the creation? God created the creation so that the creation recognize God. Right? Now obviously there's a lot of questions might come about here which we don't deal with that now. Now the creation khalq Allah liya'rifu abadu. So when they recognize God, they will do ibadah. It's automatic. Once they know that Lord is so great, they will do ibadah. فَأَبَدُوا مُسْتَغْنِي and ibadati ma siwa. They will become ghani from worshipping others. They will not worship others, but they will worship God. They will not worship the dunya, they will not worship sports, they will not worship, celebrities, but they will worship God. If we take worship in different ways, that focus, tawajjuh, taking direction, so on and so forth. Now, a person stands up and asks, Ma ma'rifatullah, what is the ma'rifat of God? Then Imam says, ma'rifat of God is the ma'rifat of the Imam of the time. So if a person have the ma'rifat and knowledge of the Imam of the time, he's having the ma'rifat of God. So now if he's taking Imam as the wasila, and if he's asking Imam directly as well, that, oh Imam, you give me, then he's actually asking God. It's like we go to the doctor. Obviously Allah is the one who gives shafaat, but we still go to the doctor. We should say that, no, I don't want to go there. Risk, I want directly from God, but we go and get the risk from. Where do we get the risk from? Something that is higher to us. Where do we go for our shafaat? Someone who have that knowledge of shafaat, which is higher to me. He might, for example, if we try to differentiate here, we say, oh, I'm a Muslim, for example, he's not a Muslim, I'm higher. No, I'm sorry. He has that skill, that knowledge of shafaat, which is higher to you. Just like Mother Teresa and the charity that we spoke about. Mother Teresa is much better than many Muslims because she has that generous heart, which a Muslim doesn't have. But he is self-righteous. He thinks that he is the one who is supposed to go in Jannah. And this is ujr, and this is worse than sin, according to the hadith. Someone who is self-righteous, who thinks that he is the best, that is worse than sin. That's worse than committing a sin. Right? All of these ikhtilafat and differences that we have today is because of this very thing, this very disease, right? So here we go somewhere higher. So when we go to an imam and we ask them directly, because they have reached that that pinnacle of existence, where they are representing, where they are manifesting that reality of God. So Imam Khomeini discusses this and he says that yes, you could go directly to the Imams and ask them, and it's not shirk.
I think that's all the time we have for questions. Before I give Reza and Uncle the mic, if anyone would like to recite the Adhan, the Quran, or the Ziyarat on Thursday or Saturday, we're going to put some sign-up sheets up at the front desk. So if you'd like to participate in that, please do put your name down.
Assalamu alaikum. I know everybody is hungry, and I am too, so I'm going to keep it very short, 3 to 4 minutes, maximum. Firstly, I want to thank everybody who has participated and come to this gathering, because the board of directors and the volunteers, they work very, very hard to put this program such as this together. And the more people come, we feel that we have done our job. So thanks for participating and also cooperating with us in terms of registration, because that saves us a lot of, it saves us, gives us planning properly, and we save on food wastage. So that's important that everyone who plans to come, tell your friends that they register on Eventbrite. Now, talking about Eventbrite, I just want to share with you a story. Last year, we invited, the board of directors put out a call to form an IT volunteer team. And thank Allah that we had 4 or 5 people come forward who are very, very knowledgeable in the IT work. And it is being headed by our friend, our board of directors, Hasnain Sajan, who is an entrepreneur and he's got his own IT business. He was joined by Muhammad, who is doing his computer science, by Yahid Shirazi, who is doing our e-blast, and Jabir Rustam, who is doing Facebook. And you can see that these type of people have come forward to serve, and to us, it is basically like ubudiyah, if I'm understanding it correctly. And when you come forward like this, we can put out a program and move forward with it. So today we are requesting you to come forward with the kind of projects we have in mind is, for example, organize monthly programs. In April, we organized the oil, the oil TED Talks, for example, and it went very well. We want people who are interested in community building. Please come forward with your knowledge of how to build a community. Please come forward. We are planning, hopefully,